Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Health Australia Thursday night chats. And tonight I'm talking with Cyndi O'Meara. Cyndi's a nutritionist and she is the creator of a documentary called What's with Wheat. She's also a best-selling author, an educator. She's an international speaker. This girl gets around, and she's the founder of Changing Habits and an educational foundation called the Functional Nutrition Academy. Given the state of what's happening to us and around us right now, tonight's talk really is spot on point. As a mother and a grandmother, I know the most important thing for me personally is to ensure that I do everything I possibly can with the words I use and the actions that I take. I want to make sure that I can create a better future for my kids and grandchildren and for generations to come. It doesn't just end there. We need to be thinking about our future. And to also, what I do is a way that we can protect our very humanness and keep it going. So tonight, I'm going to talk to Cyndi about how you, me, each one of us, how we can stand up and how we can speak up and how we can stand together and be part of a revolution or a movement that can bring balance and common sense back to our world. Now, Cyndi tonight is going to discuss with us, well, quite a variety of things actually, and certainly ways that you can build yourself up instead of feeling fearful and afraid. You can build yourself up physically and emotionally, and how you can empower yourself to become a community change maker, how we can get together and stand up. At this point in time, really there's nothing more important. We have to stay together, stand up and speak up. And I'm so pleased to introduce you tonight to Cyndi. Cyndi, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome, Molly. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. If you're okay, Cyndi, I really want to jump straight in and let's talk about coronavirus. What is it? What's happening? And why is this happening? What's your take?
Yeah, when I first saw this all happen, I go to my key people that I know will give me what I believe is to be the truth. So I went to Dr. Judy Mikovits, I listened to Del Bigtree. These are all in America, by the way, and Robert Kennedy. They're three key people that I've been following for probably 5 or 6 years. And so I first went to them because I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And then from them, I was introduced to other doctors and professors that I've now started to follow. So I don't follow mainstream media at all. I will not take part in any of the gossip that they're talking about. I want to know exactly what's happening. So Andy Kaufman, I was introduced to Dr. Andy Kaufman out of MIT, and he basically described that we have a virus, which is SARS-CoV-2, and the disease is COVID-19. So it's a bit like HIV and AIDS. HIV is the virus and AIDS is the disease. So when the media is talking about COVID-19, they're actually talking about a disease, but they're mixing it with the virus. So the media doesn't even know the difference between the disease and the virus. And there was that confusion as well when HIV and AIDS was around. That whole confusion was there too back in the 80s and the 90s. So one of the things that Andy Kaufman does is he talks about the testing of the virus and how it's tested and how there are many false positives. So even if you go on the Australian government website, it will actually tell you that it's not a very positive, it's not an accurate test. Yet everyone's being tested and we're being told this is the numbers. But in actual fact, we don't know that they are the numbers. And the correct data from around the world is not even being collated for us to really understand what is happening. So that doesn't help very many people, and it's very confusing. The other thing that Andy Kaufman talks about is that they haven't even done Koch's postulate on it. Now, Koch's postulate is this, is that when somebody has, let's say, COVID-19, and they find a virus and they think that virus is causing COVID-19, which is SARS-CoV-2, then what they will do is that they will insert SARS-CoV-2 into a healthy human being. And if that person gets COVID-19, then the possibility that SARS causes COVID-19 that possibility is there. But they haven't even done that testing. There's no
It's hard to understand, isn't it, Cyndi? It's hard to understand why.
But they've done this repeat before. So, you know, one of the drugs that everybody's talking about at the moment is hydroxychloroquine. And there are many doctors saying, I've had no deaths. None of my patients have needed to go to hospital. I've used antibiotic, hydroxychloroquine, and zinc. And they talk about the action of how it works. But it's being blocked by the Australian government, by the American, by Fauci. They're blocking this drug. And I remember getting, I put something up on my Instagram about it, and I got hell from a few people. And so I went back to them and I said, what you don't realize is that in the 80s, I was heavily involved with HIV, AIDS, and AZT. So I have hemophilia in my family. I have 6 uncles that have hemophilia. So there are 8 people with hemophilia in my family. But the beginning of that generation were my 6 uncles. So my mother's brothers. And when HIV was starting to be known, of course, it was in the blood samples. So we were told HIV was in the blood samples. And so my uncles would have a drug that was factor X. And the way they would get it is they would pool everybody's blood together, get the plasma out of that blood, take out the factor 8, and they would be able to have factor 8 prophylactically or have factor 8 when, you know, they were bleeding. And so what happened is that these factor 8 and plasma was contaminated with HIV. And so all my uncles were tested for HIV. Every single one of them had it. 2 wives had it. One of my cousins had it. And every single one of them were put on the medication AZT, bar one. One chose not to do it. His wife chose to do it, but he chose not to do it. I have to tell you, he lived the longest. He lived right up until the 90s, mid-90s. And he ended up deciding to go on an experimental drug, which is not the drug I'm going to be talking about, but he decided to go on an experimental drug and he passed away from liver cancer. But we watched each one of my uncles and my aunts go on AZT. And as soon as they weren't diagnosed with AIDS, they were diagnosed with HIV, which is the virus. It's not the disease. So they were then all given AZT to protect them. And each one of them passed away from a side effect of AZT. So one got dementia, another one, you know, it was a balls up, an absolute balls up. And we lost 8 family members as a result of that tainted blood. And there's a big story behind that and Bayer's behind that, but I'm not going to go into that. But what happened is that there was a drug was found that would stop, like hydroxychloroquine would stop HIV in its tracks. And Dr. Judy Mikovits was part of this. And she was working for Dr. Fauci, and she was working with the NIH. And he held that drug up for 18 months because he wanted the glory, he didn't want Judy to have it. He wanted the glory, and it's a sordid story. And if you want to read about it, it's in Judy Mikovits' book, Plague of Corruption. So if anybody wants to really understand HIV and AIDS and what's happening right now, it's just, to me, it's repeating itself. So
it sounds like it.
Yeah, and most
it's disgraceful, isn't it?
It is. It's disgraceful. And the same players in this play, or the key role players in this play, are now in this one. So I feel the best thing that I can do right now is not have a narrative about what is happening, but know how to get my body strong enough, my immune system strong enough, so that it can fight whatever comes along. So every minute of the day, we are exposed to microbes. So the microbiome, we are 20,000 genes. Our microbiome is we are 10% our own genes and 90% bugs, viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi. You know, we are lots more parasites. And without those bugs, we'd be dead. completely dead. So we cannot sterilize the world. We cannot sterilize ourselves. We need contact with each other so that our immune system, so we have the innate immune system, which is what you're born with, and then we have the adapted immune system. And that adapted immune system is an innate intelligence. It knows what to do. If it didn't know what to do, we would not have survived 100,000 generations ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have evolved to eat a certain food, to live a certain lifestyle, to live with these bugs, no matter what bug comes along. And there will be some people who are not well that will die off as a result of plagues or viruses or whatever happens, but there will also be people that don't. And so we protect those people that are sick and vulnerable, but we allow the healthy ones to get out there and to remain healthy and not get sick. But the whole narrative has only been about social distancing, masks, clean your hands, wash your hands. That's been the government narrative. There's no discussion on how do you make an immune system strong? Well, you need sunshine for vitamin D. So get outside. Your body needs movement. The body moves the lymphatic system, which is the immune system. You need food, and food that your body works well with, not McDonald's, which is allowed to stay open. I could not believe that all of those places were allowed to be open. Like if I was Prime Minister, I would have got rid of all processed foods. I would have made everybody have a garden in their backyard to grow. I know people would have hated me, but anyway, they would have had to grow their own food. You think of the Second World War, there were victory gardens that were being grown to help the troops in America, to help feed the people in America. Why are we not doing something like this right now? Why are we not looking at what is the big picture? And to me, the big picture is that we have had a war on bacteria and viruses and on bugs for probably 50 years now. Firstly, we have antibiotics. So, and any penicillin or anything that's going to do it, we want to sanitize everything. And there are times when sanitation is important, but not all the time. We need a microbiome. We need everything on our skin. But one of the things that I believe has been, and if you listen to a lot of the people out there that I believe are really thinking, the thing that we've done is that we've destroyed our relationship with nature. And the way we've done it, number one, is through our agricultural practices. So if you read Silent Spring back in the 1960s by Rachel Carson, you would have heard what Dildren, Aldrin, and DDT was doing. And these were chemicals that were being sprayed on food. And I have to tell you, my mother was exposed to DDT, Aldrin, and Dildren, because she was in the Midwest of the United States of America. And she was a corn farmer's wife, a corn farmer's daughter, I should say. She was the oldest of 11 children. Now, when my mom was born, she does not have the gene for hemophilia. 2 years later, her brother was born. He was the first ever born in our family, showing generations this way, generations back, that we know of that had hemophilia. And they didn't know he had hemophilia until they'd circumcised him. And what happened between the year my mother was born and the year my uncle was born was that arsenic of lead was sprayed on 14 states of the US because there was a locust plague. For 2 years it was sprayed. And I sometimes go, could it have been that changed the gene that caused my aunts and my uncles to have the gene for hemophilia after my mother was born? I don't know. I can't prove it, but I'm just giving you where we're starting to get real changes. Then in 1945, DDT was starting to be sprayed on the cornfields. It was sprayed on my mum's hair because if she had nits, they'd spray it. They sprayed it on swimming pools. It was safe. There was all these jingles to say it was the best thing ever. And then, of course, Rachel Carson's book came out and DDT was banned in the US in 1974, but it's still sprayed around the world. And then in 1995, we got a new chemical that was starting to be sprayed in enormous amounts, and that was Roundup. And the active ingredient in Roundup is glyphosate. And in 2010, Monsanto patented glyphosate as an antibiotic, broad spectrum antibiotic. So here we are spraying 70 foods either on, around or near in Australia with Roundup or glyphosate. Our main roads spray it, our councils spray it, our state parks spray it, national parks spray it, land care sprays it, and it is the most heavily sprayed herbicide ever on the planet. And when you know that it's a broad spectrum antibiotic, what it's doing is it's destroying our relationship with microbes. So it's destroying our microbiome. It's creating an increase in allergies, food sensitivities, autism, because when you destroy the gut, you destroy the brain as well. We have a gut-brain axis, and when you start to destroy that, we have an increase in mental illness, depression, anxiety. So we enter 2020. We have more people with mental illness than we've ever had before, high anxiety, high depression. We have more kids with autism. We have more kids with allergies, food sensitivities. And if you have a look at the correlation and then you look at the science behind that correlation curve, you see when we started to spray Roundup or glyphosate, we started to increase these diseases and these neurological diseases as well. So in Australia, we are regulated by the Australian Pesticide and Veterinary Medicine Authority, and they have registered 596 products in Australia that contain glyphosate, all the way from cleaning out your kettle, because it's a descaling agent, so it takes minerals out of solution, to herbicides, and you know, it can be in so many other things. So I feel that we've lost our relationship. So once you know this, once you educate yourself, once you realize it's in your food, on your food, once you realize that the gluten intolerance that we're now seeing, and my documentary was What's with Wheat, and this is where I first started to learn about it. So what they're doing in Australia is that not every farmer, but many farmers, well, in actual fact, probably 2% of farmers do not use Roundup.
2%?
2%.
Oh, my Lord.
Because they'll use it for weeds, they'll use it pre-seeding, or they may use it if they have genetically modified crops, or they'll use it as something called a drying agent or desiccant on the crops just before harvest. So you can't wash this stuff off. It has a biochemical pathway disruptor, and the biochemical pathway disruptor stops the production of really important amino acids in our food. So it stops the production of tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. These three amino acids allow us to make our neurotransmitters. So let's go to the bacteria in our gut. So first of all, our plants don't have minerals in it because it's a chelating agent, takes minerals out of system, doesn't have those amino acids in it. It doesn't have enterobactin, which carries iron. So iron's out of our food as well, or in minimal amounts. It's part of coenzyme Q, production of coenzyme Q in our foods. So we're missing that as well. So that's in our food. Then when we consume it, it's an antibiotic, remember. So it starts to kill off the bacteria in our gut. Now that bacteria in our gut also makes the three amino acids, tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. So if your food hasn't got it, your gut bacteria aren't making it, then you're not making your neurotransmitters. Therefore, you're not thinking right. You're not feeling right. Your nervous system isn't working right. You haven't got enough iron because enterobactin's not there. You have fructose malabsorption because the bacteria need fructose. And if the bacteria aren't there, the fructose isn't being consumed by them. And so now we have fructose malabsorption, and everybody's going, oh, fructose is bad for us. You shouldn't be eating fructose. But it's not fructose that is bad for us. It's what's happened to our body. When you understand all of this, you then realize the importance of your lifestyle and the importance of your food. And when you choose foods that are not being sprayed with this Roundup or whatever else is out there, and that Roundup's one, I picked one, there's chlorpyrifos that is being, there's 2,4-D that's being, you know, there's lots of chemicals that are being sprayed. There are 144 chemicals that are tested in our food supply by the supermarkets that ask for it. So our national measuring instruments are the people that test for 144 chemicals in our food. Did you realize that? 144 chemicals. Guess what one is not being tested in the usual 144 chemicals? Glyphosate.
Glyphosate.
You have to have that separately tested. They're not testing for it. Our grain authorities or our, who is it? That's FSANS actually comes up with the amount that's allowed in our food of glyphosate, and then that's tested, and then they have an amount per parts per million that's allowed in our food. But in parts per billion, it causes kidney damage. And they're putting it in parts per million, they're allowing it. And they're not even accurate with their testing. They can only tell you if it's to a certain amount, and I can't remember the parts per million that it is, and I should know that, but it's just left my brain as to whether it's 0.5 or 5 parts per million, or I can't remember what they get down to. But this, when you realize what they're doing, and if you choose not to support those farmers, and you choose not to support anyone that is using it, but you choose to support our regenerative farmers, our organic farmers, our farmers that care for our land, care for our soil, then you are an incredible activist. Because not only are you caring for yourself and making sure you're well and looking after your family, but the ripple effect that creates the tsunami of change that we do as individuals, as we choose our food and choose the right food, we are all powerful. And that's what is so exciting.
Yeah,
just
very.
by your food choices, you become powerful, because you're saying, I'm sorry, but if you're a farmer that's producing wheat that's being sprayed with glyphosate just before harvest, I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm going to find a wheat farmer that's not doing that. And there are wheat farmers out there that aren't doing that. There are traditional biodynamic wheat farmers out there. There's not many, but they're out there. But what you have to do is you have to put the effort in and the work in to find
it.
Yeah, you've got to find them, and you will find them. You find people like I have an academy, the Nutrition Academy. It's a 12-month course that I teach, and at the end of that course, those people know what they can do in their community to help other people in the community to find the foods that will change the world and will change the planet. There's an old saying, and it goes like this. It was a priest who thought he would change the world, and he realized after some time that the world wouldn't change. So he sets his sights down a little bit lower, and he says, I'm going to start to work on my country. Country didn't want to change, so he set his sights a little bit lower, and he said, I'm going to work on my community. Community didn't want to change either, so he thought he'd work on his family and friends. You know what that's like.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And then he got to the end of his life and he went, oh my goodness, if I'd only worked on myself, then by example, I may have been able to influence my family and friends. And with their love and support, we may have been able to influence a community, a country, and a planet. And so to be an activist, you don't have to be loud and proud. You just have to choose the foods that will change everything. Because when you change the foods that you're consuming, you are not supporting the chemical companies that are making synthetic biology additives that are genetically modified, that we don't know the results are. You're not supporting Monsanto or Bayer. And then when you start to eat the right foods, you're not supporting the drug companies that are trying to push every drug onto us under the sun. You know, the average Australian will consume 48,000 tablets in their life if they live to the age of 75.
Oh my Lord.
Yep, because
goodness.
This is what I did. I looked at the amount of prescriptions or tablets that are prescribed out in a year, and then I divided it by 25 million people, and I got 40, and then I multiplied it by 75, and I got 48,000 tablets. That's scary.
That's hard to believe. That is amazing. Although, let me tell you a quick story. We live in a retirement little type of lifestyle living area, and I started a little craft group. And one day they were sitting around doing their stitching, and one lady said, oh, you know, I take 34 pills a day. Oh. And another one said, well, I take 38. True story. So I thought, right, this isn't the place for me. But yeah, and it was like, this is what we do. We take these pills, and that's just how it is.
And it's from the minute you're born. So what happens is that we don't want to see our babies in pain. So the first pain they get is teeth. And so we're taught to give Bonjelo, you know, put something on there. I don't know what it is, but it's called Bonjelo. It's got red color and it's got artificial sweeteners and it's got a whole bunch of crap in it. And we're told to do it to our babies. But this is our baby's first feeling of pain. And that first feeling of pain helps the pain system kick in. I always get it wrong. Anyway, the pain system, the cannabinoid system, to kick in, because we make them and it makes us feel good. So the first thing we do is do that. Then if they have a fever, we give them Panadol. And then if they have a cold, we give them antibiotics. And then what happens is that the mother says, here, darling, take this. This will make you feel better. So at 16, when somebody is on the streets and they're given a bit of ice and they're saying, here, take this. This will make you feel better. And so they take it because they've been conditioned for 16 years to take a pill to make them feel better. And we will never get rid of the drug problem we have in the streets until we get rid of the drug problem we've got in the home. And my dad was a pharmacist, and he realized what was happening in the 50s and how sick he was making people, because he'd have somebody in their 70s come into his pharmacy, he'd give him a drug, they'd be back 6 weeks later, he'd realize that was a side effect of the drug, he'd be giving him another drug. At the end of a year, they were taking 12 drugs, when really, in fact, all they needed to do was, you know, take a change in their lifestyle or their food or something else, but not drugs. And so he quit pharmacy in the 50s, mid-50s, and he became a chiropractor, and he learned vitalism. And so he brought all of us up, my siblings and I, he brought us up without any medications. So I'm 60 and I've never had an antibiotic. I've never had a Panadol. I've never had an aspirin. I've never had Bonjelo. I've never had They brought us up this way. I've brought my children up exactly the same way. My kids are in their 30s and late 20s. They've never had any medications. So it can be done.
Yes, yes, it can.
People go, oh, you're just privileged, Cyndi. No, I'm not. You know, it's not privilege. It's educating yourself. It's not being part of mainstream. It's about going, what is the lifestyle that I need to live so that I can live my best life and I can think my best thoughts? And that lifestyle is based on, for me, those vitalistic principles that you are an innate intelligence, give it the right resources, and it'll do the right thing by you. In an emergency, don't get me wrong, we need our medicines. In an emergency situation, in an acute care, I would go to my medical doctor straight away. But when it comes to chronic diseases that we're now seeing, 38 to 40% of our kids have chronic diseases. If you're at 65, you will have 80% of the population will have a chronic disease, and everything in between. And that's not just one chronic disease. Your friend's taken 38 tablets. Can you imagine the chronic diseases they've got because of those 38 tablets? It's just ridiculous.
It's quite insane, isn't it?
It's insanity. Absolutely insanity. And a drug should be for a short period of time to get you over something, but it should never be lifelong. If a doctor says, oh, you'll need to be on these for the rest of your life, you're going to go, oh, hang on. Why? Can't I change my trajectory? Can I not change, you know, what I can be like? So I did anthropology through university, and I realized the lifestyle that we evolved to be in is the lifestyle we have to pretend we're in now. Even though we can live modern lives, we can cook in a kitchen, we don't have to cook on a fire, you know, we can cook in a kitchen, we can live in nice homes, but we must allow our human body to live the lifestyle of our evolutionary body, because we're not modern, we're actually very old. And we need the sunshine, we need movement, we need connection, we need clean water, we need nature, we need grounding, and we need good food. And if we put all of these wonderful ingredients together, we can be the healthiest we can possibly be. But what do we live now? We live indoors. We never see the sun because we've been told the sun is bad. We're told that meat causes cancer, that butter causes heart disease, that salt causes hypertension. all the foods that we've eaten for
We're
thousands
just
of
breaking up a
generations.
little bit. Hang in there, everyone. Cyndi will be back. Can you hear, Cyndi?
I'm here.
It's just, yeah. Okay, keep going. Plus, it causes heart disease. Yep.
Yeah, salt causes hypertension. You know, and we're told all of these ridiculous things. I've lost you now. Yeah. So we're told all of these things that when you look at the historical way we used to eat, and we're told that breakfast cereals and low fat milk is good, and we go to the supermarket and we see all this stuff that says it's healthy for you, reduces cholesterol, does this, does that, and you flip it over and you read the ingredients and there's not one real food in there. And you know what they're doing now? Since 2010, there has been an exponential growth in the way they make our additives. So let me tell you how they make natural vanilla flavoring. They take the gene out of the vanilla pod, they insert it into a bacteria, they then put it on a sugar substrate or some sort of substrate that then produces a chemical which smells like vanilla. They then put it in and they call it natural vanilla flavoring. Citric acid, they do the same thing. Rennet that we used to make cheese with. It was made from a calf's stomach, the enzyme in a calf's stomach. So what they do now is they take the gene out of the calf's stomach, they insert it into a bacteria and then put it on a substrate and it makes microbial rennet. Have a look at your cheeses. Anyone who's at home right now, go and have a look at your cheese and you'll see microbial rennet. It's called synthetic biology. It's called the synthetic way to natural. That's the byline. They do it with xanthan gum. They do it with colors. They do it, they're actually stevia. Even stevia is now being made. There's 2 companies that are doing it that are now making it with genetically modified microorganisms. And it could be a virus. So one of the things that they do is that they've genetically modified a virus that they spray on meat that kills listeria. You won't read it as an ingredient, it's a procedure.
So they don't have to list it.
No, they don't have to list it. So you don't know I don't know if it's sprayed on meat. I just know this much. I'm going to my butcher. I'm not going to Coles or Woolworths. I'm not buying meat that's packaged. So I support my local butcher. I support my local community. I support my local market. I grow my own food. I could probably live on my farm and not have to. I would be narrowed in the food that I'm eating because I'm not growing everything yet, but I could easily live on my farm. But you can also live, can I suggest for the listeners to look up the movie Homegrown? And it's about a man in the middle of LA who grows more food for his family than they can eat on, I think it's 600 squares, and he sells to the markets. So it's possible. And we just have to get our priorities right. We're home. You know, you're home. I have a wonderful garden course called The Incredible Edible Garden. So if anybody wants to go and figure out how to get their soil correct, and then, you know, what to grow, and it becomes something that's perpetuated. So I have a garden that I probably seeded 2 years ago. I don't touch it. It just keeps seeding. I got lettuces coming out my ears. I got coriander. I've got every herb, every green. I've got broccoli. I've got fennel, nasturtiums, warrigal greens. It just all just perpetuates itself.
Keeps coming back.
It just keeps coming back, and we've just got to start it. You can have chickens in your backyard that produce eggs. Then you know those eggs aren't being fed genetically modified grains with glyphosate and Roundup on it. You know, it's a matter of you thinking now and being prepared for, look what's happening in Victoria at the moment. The supermarket shelves are empty. They're going to stop the abattoirs. That means there's not going to be enough meat. How cool would it have been if we'd prepared in March for this and start growing our own food? And people did start to do that, because the Diggers Club And my local green harvest were completely out of seeds until the spring. So, but the thing is, you collect seeds, go to your organic,
Yes.
go and get organic pumpkins, collect the pumpkin seeds, scatter them in your garden, grow pumpkins, tomatoes, gather your tomatoes, throw them in your garden, they'll sprout. Put your compost in your garden, don't throw it in your rubbish bin, see what comes up. It's just, this to me is preparing. It doesn't matter if nothing happens, but you're preparing and you're learning. This is about getting back into the soil. This is about being an activist, but a quiet activist in a way. You don't have to be like the beautiful Meryl Dorries, like people like you, the Barbara Lowe Fishers, the Robert Kennedys, the Del Bigtrees, the Taylor Wintersteins. You don't have to be like them, or the Yolanda Lanas. You can do this quietly. And then you can be an example, and your friends are going to start asking you, this is the way I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives, for me personally, a great sense of power or empowerment when I go and pick my vegetables and pick my parsley and bring it straight in from the garden to consume. It gives me a great sense of satisfaction, that's for sure. And I think I really like that you say you can be an activist without, jumping up and down and shouting out. And but I think there's a place for that as well in certain circumstances. But yes, be active, your own little activist in your own home. Yeah, that's very empowering.
And that is not only the food that you're consuming, but the products you're buying. Plastics, think about the plastics that you're purchasing. Think about the chemicals that you're purchasing, and look at supporting your local community person who's making a clean, there's a lot of boutique or cottage industries sprouting up, and they make their own face creams, they make their own, those beeswax covers instead of using Glad wrap or cling wrap. There are ways where you become with less waste. There's so many ways that we can do this, and it's about educating yourself. I think that's number one, is educating yourself and really considering what you're putting down the toilet, what you're putting down your pipes in your showers, what soaps you're using, what shampoos you're using. How can we create activism in our own home? So I realize that there are people who, like you, Molly, will speak up and will be part of the Health Australia Party and be part of that. But there'll be people that that's not them. So we do it in our own quiet way, or we do it in our own loud way. So it's where you stand and how you can do this. But we all need to play a part, and we all need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I really believe that there's SARS-CoV-2 and any other virus that's come before it, from HIV to whatever is out there. I really do believe it's because we have lost our touch with nature, and our immune system is no longer strong. We depend on 72 vaccines, I think, is now with our kids. I don't even know what's happening with our kids. Thank goodness I had my children 30 years ago, but they'll have children.
Yes.
So you have to think about all of the immune systems, the autoimmunities, the allergies, the food sensitivities, the asthma, all of these things, all to do with the immune system. So are we playing with the immune system too much? Are we creating a hyperactive immune system and therefore causing this? People have to question this, because what else is happening out there except they're killing off our microbiome? They're playing with our immune system.
Yes.
They're playing with our food.
I think we're frozen again. Are you there, Cyndi? Keeps freezing on us. Okay. So they're killing off our microbiome, yes? Yeah, or we are in our choices.
Yeah, by our choices. If we choose the right things, then, we will be the solution to our future generations. And for me, it's like this, is that we can, as individuals, become part of a tsunami of change that will change the health of who we are right now, as well as our children and future generations. And don't ever feel that you're powerless, because you have absolute power in your home. And you just have to think about how you're doing it, how to educate yourself, and who you can trust, and where do I find these things. And like I said, I have an education program that teaches this, you know. And what's really good is that we have that community in that education program, and people are going, where did you find this? What can we do here? How can we do that? And the Health Australia Party is the same. So to me, we have to get behind each other and learn from each other. Where's the best place to do things, you know? And that's what I've done. You know, I've just found the key people that I trust, that I can go and listen to them, know that they investigate, know that they show me where they investigate, that it's not hidden and it's not lies, but it's because they love humanity. When I see someone's whole career absolutely smashed because they've told the truth, like Rachel Carson on Silent Spring, Judy Mikovits with Plague of Corruption, Carrie Gillam with Whitewash, then there's Our Stolen Future. There's just so many people out there that their careers have become disasters because they have told the truth, but they're not going to back down. They keep going and going and going. Yeah, I love those people, and I read their work and I follow them, and and they've got nothing to lose anymore. They've lost everything. You know, Fauci took everything from Judy Mikovits, and
so I believe,
he took everything from her, and she lost everything. She lost her credit rating because she told the truth. And and she's got 2 books out, by the way. One is Plague and one is Plague of Corruption. So Plague came out about 2016. Plague of Corruption just came out April this year.
Yes, I've read her book. It's tragic, it's fascinating, and it is empowering, because to see her go from everything to nothing back to a place of power, it's that's exciting to watch. I think one of the things, I guess, is the most difficult for people today is that they don't even think that they need to investigate what is in that package as I take it off the supermarket shelf. They don't realise they need to look at what they're consuming. They're busy, life is busy, and I think we have been conditioned not to ask, to just accept, as you should be able to. We should all be able to accept that every single thing in that supermarket is okay and is for our health and our benefit as human beings. But I believe if we took everything out of the supermarkets that wasn't okay for us to consume, that wasn't really life empowering, we wouldn't have supermarkets anymore at all.
No, there wouldn't be a lot left. In actual fact, I can go down aisles in a supermarket and there wouldn't be one thing that I would choose on the shelf. And that would be, first of all, the soft drink all the way through there. I wouldn't choose any of those. And I choose not to buy water anymore also. I choose to filter my own water and carry a container that is reusable over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yes.
Breakfast cereal aisle, there's not one thing that I would choose out of there. So I don't even go to a supermarket anymore. Occasionally I went into the supermarket recently because I didn't have enough food for a group of people that were coming around for a meal. So I thought I'll just quickly jot into Woolies and I'll grab some grocery items, and it was vegetables. So I went to the organic section because that's what I wanted. I wanted organic food. Everything was packaged in plastic and styrofoam, and I was almost cringing. I'm like going, I either have to go up to my farm and go get this, or I've got to drive like quite a long way to get to my local organic store, or I just choose it then and there. And as I chose it and I paid for it, I vowed I wouldn't do it again. I will just always go to my organic store, pick food that's not been packaged, or just make sure I've got enough food in my pantry when guests come. I can't do it anymore because I know where it ends up and I know what it's doing to the planet, and that makes me part of this problem, not part of the solution. So I'm a busy person too, but I have priorities, and my priorities is my health. And if my health is my priority, then food is my number one priority. and my movement and my getting out into nature and hiking and swimming and whatever it is that I do. But if you do not have health, you can't work. If you do not have health, I'm in Magnetic Island at the moment. I have never seen here like I've seen it up here. I went into a grocery store, IGA, the local IGA up here on Magnetic Island, and there was a lady there with a mask on serving us. Now, there's nothing up this way in Queensland. And she's serving us. She's got a big plastic screen, and she goes, "Read that. Do not come past that screen." And so we had to stand back behind the screen until it was ready to pay. When we were ready to pay, she moved to the far corner where she could be, where she wasn't close to us. And I felt like saying to her, if you are that scared, what the hell are you doing working here? It's not fair to make people fearful when that's what you're like. I actually do not fear it. Why? Oh, you know, like, we know that the rate of death, if you get it, is like 0.4, is it? It's 99.4% that you will recover and you will be fine. And that's across countries. So if I had heart disease, I'd be scared. If I had cancer, I'd be more scared.
Exactly.
You know, I wrote down, and I'm just going to pick this up. I wrote down something on my Instagram, and I worked out how many people died in a day. So approximately 457 people a day die in Australia. 96 from heart disease and stroke. 79 from cancer. This is every day in Australia. 49 from medical mistakes. 30 from respiratory issues. 12 from diabetes. I think it's 6 are stillborn. It's a phenomenal number that are stillborn. And then suicide, you know, I don't even know, I didn't write down the numbers for suicide, and they'll be increasing. So you need to be more scared of our lifestyle diseases as opposed to this one. But I don't know, the media have done such a good job of fear mongering that there's a lot of scared people out there. And I saw that lady. I swim every morning, and in the beginning, we didn't know what it was like. I hadn't done the study on it. So I kept my distance from everybody. I did what I was told. Then a couple of months passed and I learned more about it. And a couple of the people I always hug every morning. Anyway, one morning I went in for a hug to this one person, and we hugged each other. And a lady that was about 3 meters from us just went to me, "If my father dies, it's your fault, Cyndi." And I felt like saying to her, well, why are you out here if you worried about your father? If that's who you've got to protect, then you protect him. But I didn't. I apologized. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that and to make you fearful." And you know what she said to me? She said, "Why should you be having all the fun and nobody else is having fun?" And I went, "Okay, all right. I get you. It's all right. You're fearful. And I'm not going to, and I try to really help these people. I'm not going to be mean to them because she's a friend. She's someone I swim with. And then just recently I went in for a hug with somebody because this was before Melbourne and Victoria went crazy. I went in for a hug and she put her arms out and she goes, "Social distancing, Cyndi." And I went, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, there's so much fear.
There's a lot of fear and
misinformation.
This was a dietitian. I was like, "Oh, okay, sorry." So, you know, I do what I'm told as far as what is happening in public. But when it comes to my family, you know, we're a unit. We grow our own food. We look after each other. We nurture each other. We have connection with each other. We exercise together. We tramp together. We swim together. We surf together. We have to connect with someone.
Yes.
And
it's very human to connect, isn't it? It's vital for us.
Very vital. Very vital. And I just feel that if the government is not going to teach how to have an immune system that's strong and hardy and can resist viruses and bacteria and fungi and parasites and molds, then it's my job as a nutritionist of 40 years to teach people how you have a strong immune system. And it's about having a strong, healthy microbiome, a strong, healthy body, and then you have a strong immune system. So my dad is 92 in Melbourne in a independent living place. And he's never had the flu in his life. I've never seen him with the flu. He never gets sick. He doesn't take any drugs, no medications. So whoever, he hasn't taken those 48,000 medications. Whoever, you know, like he's missed his lot.
Someone's got it.
They've doubled up on there. You know, he's never had them. Anyway, he's getting dementia. So you wouldn't know it speaking to him in the first 10 minutes. He's inquisitive. He asks questions. He tells you stories. He's an upright and incredible man. Amazing. But he's beginning to forget. And a doctor came to this place and he's curious. And the doctor is injecting her patients, not him, he's not her patient, injecting her patients with the flu vaccine. And my dad's asking, what are you doing? What are you giving? Blah, 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 blah. And she says to him, would you like one? Like it was a lolly. And he said yes. He's never had a vaccine in his life. He's taken very few medications in his life. And she injected him with the H1N1 quadruple, whatever it is, quadvalent.
Yeah. For the over 65s, yeah.
Yep. The over 65 one.
Yeah.
She didn't ask, did you have it a week ago? She didn't ask his health. She didn't ask any questions of him. She didn't ask the staff that were there. She vaccinated him. And I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked, that someone would do that without asking the right questions.
Yes, agree. Where's the consultation?
Yeah,
not her patient, so.
No. Anyway, she lost her job.
Did she?
Or I went to APRA. I did what everybody should be doing. You should be going to APRA and recording this. And then I got a barrister to give a letter to her and to ABO to say that it was, I forget exactly what my barrister said, but they said, well, she can't, they basically got rid of her because you can't do that. She was, and there could be doctors on there that are saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with the flu shot. Well, I'm sorry. If there's not consent, you can't do that. That's in the government guidelines. And it was not proper consent. I'm his EPOA, as is my brother. We have a medical directive on him, and it's only if you ask us, and then we'll consult who we believe are the experts and whether it's worthwhile. And what ended up happening is that the flu vaccine was 36% effective. This is the statistics on it.
Yes,
and
correct.
The chance of COVID-19, the disease, increases the chance by something like 56%. And now with that, you're going to go, well, no, forget the flu. We don't need that. You know, we've got SARS-CoV-2. It's only 36% effective. He's never had the flu before. He's never had a vaccine before. He doesn't take drugs. Physically, he's doing all right. No, we won't do that one. Yeah.
That's not how they roll, though, is it?
Yeah, and I think it needs to stop. I think that the medicalisation of Australia needs to stop. I think we need to start taking back control of our health. We need to be responsible for our health. We need to be responsible for the health of our children, because if we're not guardians of our children, their little bodies are being taken over. And I just think it's time for people to stand up for their rights, young mothers to really, you know, consider everything that goes into their mouth, on their body, in their body, what nappies they're using. Is it organic cotton? If it's not, it's probably got glyphosate in it. That's going to cause a sterilization of the microbiome in the vagina and the penis for these little babies. Like, people have to consider this. What cotton are you putting on your babies? It's the most chemically sprayed crop in Australia. Are they using cottonseed oil when you go and buy your fish and chips? You know, these are the things that people need to become educated about and start to consider. And people are probably reeling right now and going, it's all too hard.
Yes, I think there's a bit of that for sure.
Yeah, just take it step by step. That's all. One thing at a time. Go, okay, we're going to wipe out canola oil, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, grapeseed oil, all the inflammatory omega-6 oils. We're going to wipe them out of our diet. That's where we're going to start. So you buy olive oil, you buy macadamia nut oil. You don't buy chips that are fried in cottonseed oil. You buy them if they're fried in maybe coconut oil, or you make your own chips, you know, and then you go, right, we've got the oils down pat. What next? Butter versus margarine. We're not buying margarine anymore. Let's buy butter. Salt. We're not buying white salt with anti-caking agents and bleachers and potassium iodide in it. We're actually going to buy a salt that's clean and got lots of microminerals in it, such as Himalayan salt, Peruvian salt. I'd say Murray River salt, but I can't because it runs over land before it's harvested, and I don't know if that land is clean. And I've asked them, I've rung them, I've asked them, and they've never gotten back to me and kept telling me, so I can't recommend them at this point. So that's our beautiful Australian salt.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. And they've only said to me that I can't remember. Anyway, I don't remember what they've told me, but it's not that it's free from chemicals. So when they do come back to me, that'll be great. I will recommend them, but I can't at the moment. It could be the eggs you're consuming. So instead of having the cage eggs, let's go for free range, and then go organic free range, and then buy chickens and get your own eggs. So you can see it's a step by step. Instead of having breakfast cereals laced with glyphosate or some chemicals and fortified with synthetic vitamins, maybe we could go to porridge and make it an organic porridge, because otherwise it's been desiccated maybe with Roundup, we don't know. So it could be a porridge, it could be quinoa, an organic quinoa. So in a year, imagine where you're going to be. Maybe go in and buy parsley and rosemary and plant it in your garden the next week. Then it might be the milk that you're drinking. Maybe support a local dairy that is regeneratively farming, may not be organically certified, but is regeneratively farming, and you know that it's a good quality milk. So then look at the shampoo. When your shampoo runs out, what's a better quality shampoo that I can get? And I'm not talking about, you know, the chemical laden ones. I'm talking about the natural ones that are out there. So you see, as you run out of something, go, okay, what's a better ingredient that I can buy? If you run out of Cadbury chocolate, buy a better quality chocolate. Like Loving Earth is an Australian-based chocolate company. Go and buy their stuff, you know, so, and support a local company. And Cadbury,
exactly.
Australian anymore. So it's a step-by-step process, and I have a book called Lab to Table that goes through this. So, you know, people can look it up. It's on my website. They can look it up and they can learn something about breakfast cereals, learn the alternative, and then move to the next chapter. Learn about salt, or learn about margarine versus butter, learn about eggs and dairy and wheat and synthetic biology and chocolate. And, you know, I go through everything I can possibly go through, tell you what they're doing to it and what's the better. I don't take something away until I give you something good. It's like alcohol. A lot of alcohol now, you know, they spray Roundup between the vineyards. So unless it's distilled, which is whiskey, gin, tequila, it's contaminated, you know? So these are the things. Like I don't take something away unless I can give it back to you in a better ingredient and better quality.
Okay, that's very empowering. And that I like the way you've done that, because it's a step-by-step process which means it's not overwhelming, it's manageable and doable. Yeah, that's great, Cyndi. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank
otherwise,
you.
people are overwhelmed.
Yes.
But if you just take one thing at a time, when it runs out, and you can go into your pantry for people at home and they're on their phone, they can go into their pantry right now and they can start flipping over their packages and start reading the ingredients. And if it's not real food, choose not to buy it again. If you're still in a grocery store, go into the grocery store and start flipping over which one is actually real ingredients. Because if you look at a peanut butter, you can see a peanut butter with emulsifiers and vegetable oils and all sorts of stuff in it, but you can find a peanut butter that's just peanut butter, nothing else in it.
Yeah, just peanuts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or you can find a jam that's got colors and fillers and thickeners and gels and all that, or you can find a jam with strawberries and sugar. You know, so this is what I do, is I go and I go, let's look at the better one that's out there. Let's not completely change your diet just yet, but let's look at a better ingredient that you can use. Then you can start to figure out what's making you feel good and what's not making you feel good.
Yeah, really good point. Really good point. Okay, so we've got lots of little pointers to help us, and particularly through this time. I mean, people can't go out shopping as much, so they've definitely got time to do a little bit of research, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people out there helping. So in the Nutrition Academy or Changing Habits, which are my two companies, there's lots of blogs, lots of information, you know, like the Incredible Edible Gardens there, all my books are there. But then I've given you other people as well, like Loving Earth, if you want chocolate. There's goodness, I forget, they do all your nuts and your seeds. So, you know, look at those. There's Melrose out there that are doing some wonderful things as well. So there's some wonderful companies out there that are really ethical and really thinking about what they're doing and what they're sourcing. And I wish I could remember all the people that I buy from that I could recommend. And I do actually, Barbell Meats, that's another one. But I do have recommendations on my website. So you can go to what does Cyndi recommend and what do I buy. And it's down to bamboo sheets, it's mattresses, it's cooking ware, and I just recommend them. You go to their website and have a look at them and decide for yourself.
Yeah, and it's you don't have to do everything at once.
No,
just one thing at a time. Make it simple for yourself, but make a change, because as they say, you are the change. And that's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Each one of us are.
They say insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yes, guilty.
We've got to do something different if we want a different result. And one of the things I'd like to talk about that I did when this first started, because I did have a little bit of anxiety about it. I noticed my heart rate was up. I didn't know what was happening. I was reading everything. I wanted to know what was happening. So I started Wim Hof breathing. So every day for 30 minutes in the morning when I wake up, I do 30 minutes of Wim Hof breathing. So you can download his free app. It's WIMHOF. He has a breathing session on there that goes for about 30 minutes, I believe. I've now since bought a lot of his breathing sessions. So I'm pretty sure this is where it started on that app, and I'm pretty sure it was a 30-minute session. And every morning I'd meet a friend, we'd be in nature. So we'd go in the dunes of the beach. So wherever you are, in a park, it doesn't matter. And we would do this 30-minute breathing guided by Wim. So it's 30 minutes, it's 30 breaths. So starting from the stomach, chest, head. So it's like up, out, 30. And then he asks you to hold your breath. And when I first started, it was 20 seconds, but I can now hold my breath for 2 minutes plus. So it alkalizes your body, it increases your immune system. It actually changes your microbiome for the better. They've had tests, he's done tests with it with E. coli, killing E. coli in 6 hours, where normally it would take over. So not only did it reduce my anxiety about what was happening, but it allowed me to be a bit more focused. My brain clicked in. And remember, I've been doing this now since March, and I do it almost daily, not every day, but almost daily. Some days I miss, because it's something you have to become very disciplined with. You can't expect that it's easy. It's a discipline. And it's like anything, it becomes something that becomes part of your life and a discipline in your life. And one of the things I notice with people who succeed in changing their diet and changing their life and changing their health is that they have discipline in the things that they do. And so I had to create this discipline to reduce not only anxiety, but I can tell you other things that have been happening that I just am blown away with. Like I climbed Mount Barney over the weekend. And I did no training for it. I do swim, but I hadn't swum for 2 weeks. All I did was breathe. And I was blown away by my fitness and climbing Mount Barney. Now, there is no easy way up Mount Barney. It's a grueling 17-kilometer round trip, up 1 kilometer.
Ouch. Yeah.
You know, like I'm saying, I think it's 1,000 meters up you go. And I was blown away. I'm 60 this year, and I was with a couple of 45-year-olds, and one of the 45-year-olds said to me, "You act 10 years younger than me. How the hell are you doing what you're doing?" That made me feel like you know, and this is, we have to be fit. We have to keep moving. We have to get ourselves alkalized. We've got to do all the right things to strengthen our body in order for our immune system to be the best it can possibly be. And then you're not afraid. Then you don't feel like that poor lady that was trying to serve us, but she was scared of us. That's
sad.
It was really sad. I felt for her. I felt like saying, go home. Don't stress yourself out like this. This is really like, we did not want to touch it. We weren't allowed to give cash. She was like, I wish I filmed it, because this is what fear looks like. And it's unfounded fear. I'm sorry, unfounded fear.
Absolutely. Well, I've never heard of that Wim Hof breathing. I've not heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, download. I'll just show you my app, just so people might be able to see it.
Yep.
So that's what it kind of looks like when you open it up. There it is. When you open it up, it looks like that. Let me just close it down. Yeah, I can't expand it up, but it's WIMHOF method. And you just go to apps, download it, and it says the guided breathing bubble is the first one that you'll do. And it's just, okay, start now. He will explain what it's all about. You can go on YouTube, you can watch him. He's got a lot of free stuff. And it's all about breathing and cold water exposures that improve the strength of the body and the immune system. Brian Rose recently, I don't know if you know London Reel.
Yes, I love it.
So he just recently interviewed Wim Hof. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Explains his whole breathing and what it's all about. So go and all the research that's been done on him, and you know, like his 62nd birthday, he did 62 minutes in freezing water.
Okay, I'll do the breathing. Yeah, I'll do the breathing, but draw the line at this cold water bit.
Yeah. Well, he does the cold water challenge. It's 30 seconds on a cold water shower. Yeah. Yeah, look at you. Yeah. I said the same thing. And now I'm hooked.
Oh, really?
I'm definitely hooked. Yeah.
My toe in then. I've just got a question, Cyndi. Just a change of pace, but someone's asked, do you have to be careful with hemp if you have autoimmune issues?
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that hemp is an issue with autoimmune disease. What I do know is that wheat is, and it's the gluten or the glyphosate that they have found that continues the autoimmune disease, especially thyroid disease. In actual fact, in my documentary, What's with Wheat, I interviewed a lady by the name of Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, and you can look her up. And she says, whenever science looks for a perpetuator of an autoimmune disease, it seems that gluten and wheat are part of it. So what happens is that you're compromised, your gastrointestinal tract, usually not always, but your gastrointestinal tract is compromised. So we have food particles, gluten being one of them, enters into the blood system, and gluten has like an amino acid sequence that may be something similar to what the thyroid amino acid sequence is. So what happens in an autoimmune disease is that the body, like there's two trains of thought. The body attacks its own structures because of molecular mimicry, or it has a virus or a bacteria within it that the body is trying to kill. And that's the other train of thought. And Medical Medium has a lot of information on that one, but the mainstream talk about it being molecular mimicry. So gluten may have a sequence of amino acids. It's very simple, very similar to the sequence of amino acids in your thyroid gland. And so the body has been attacking gluten, and then it starts to attack the thyroid because it feels like it's under attack all the time. And so then it goes to that area. That's called molecular mimicry. So that's one version of what autoimmune disease is. Mine is, I actually believe that we've lost our ability to live in nature. We've killed off our microbiome. We've made ourselves susceptible to a leaky gut or an intestinal lining that is compromised, which allows proteins and all sorts of foreign matters to enter into our blood system. Therefore, the blood system starts an immune response, or the immunity starts an immune response, and then everything goes haywire. So we fix the gut, we take the foods away, and we start to have success. And I love the GAPS program. I think it's incredible. I love the cultural wellness program. So GAPS is by Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. She's helped a lot of people with autoimmune diseases and kids with autism.
Yes, there's some really good information out there. I guess you have to...
I had not heard hemp.
Hemp, no, I haven't either. The only things I've heard is that how good it is all around, basically.
Yeah. But you know what? People need to start listening to their bodies. So what we do is that we've learnt throughout our life to not listen to our body. So if you have a headache, you see, oh, life's too short to be stopped by a headache, take this drug. That's the campaign that's out there. Or if you have a cough or a cold, take a Codral and soldier on. So the BS we've been taught. And now we're being told, oh, if you have a cold, stay home. Well, we should have been saying that a long time ago. But no, the drug companies want you to soldier on. So you take this drug. So we're being told never to listen to our body, to suppress it. But when you listen to the whispers, which is a headache or a cold, then you will not have to listen to the screams your body give you if you do not listen to them. So my thing is, don't suppress those headaches. Don't suppress those colds. Stay home. Learn to not soldier on. Figure out what is happening, what is causing it, what food is causing it, or you've run down or whatever it is, and start to listen to the whispers. And then you will, cancer is a scream. Heart attack is a scream. These are screams. And anybody with a comorbidity like these are seeming to be the ones that are falling more prey to getting COVID-19, the disease, than those that aren't. So, my thing is that when you consume a food, kind of listen to your body. What's happening? Do you feel less motivated? Because that's the brain. Do you feel your brain's gone to fog? Do you have an ache that you didn't have before? And maybe that food's causing that. So for the lady or the gentleman who asked me about hemp, gauge it for yourself. Start to listen to your own body. You're unique. When you start to listen to your body, and when you consume good, real foods, and then you throw hemp in, it doesn't make you feel good, well, hemp might not be good for you. But if it makes no difference, then maybe it's good for you. Listen to your body. Stop thinking you've got to listen to a doctor to tell you what's wrong with you, unless you're in an emergency or an acute situation. But we have to stop. We have to start listening to our bodies again if we're going to become masters of our health.
Yes, we have to come home, don't we? Come home to ourselves and trust ourselves. I think that's one of the things. I think a lot of people don't trust their intuition anymore.
Well, they don't trust their body. You know, think how long we've lived on this planet without drugs and chemicals and plastic fantastic food. We have survived through earthquakes and volcanoes and asteroids and a change of climate and food changes and immigration and migration and whatever it is, we have stopped because we have an incredible human body, and we just have to realize how incredible it is.
Yes, we do live in a miracle, that's for sure.
We do live in a miracle.
Goodness, we could go on all night, Cyndi, and I think if you could give me just a couple of minutes and just a couple of main pointers for people at home, because they now can't go out, particularly in Victoria. I'm thinking of the poor people down there. I feel so sad for them. What's a couple of quick things that you can say that they could do? So the breathing would have to be one, wouldn't it? Their food. What else?
Definitely the breathing. At midday, get out into the sun. I know you don't have as much sun as I do in Queensland, but get out in the sun and expose your body, as much body as you can. I know it's cold, but if you can get into a patch where there's no wind, expose your stomach or something like that, because that will give you vitamin D. So vitamin D is really important for your immune system. I would find someone that's online that will bring in good quality food. So there's community supported agricultural boxes out there, which are your local farmers. If you can't have a farmer's market, I'm sure they can deliver food still. I cannot imagine that they can't, and they would just do it to your front door, and then they would run off, and then you pick the box up. So I would be looking for those people. I would be looking for people who sell good quality long life foods like salts and nuts and seeds, and get those types of foods into your pantry. Get a great cookbook or get online and watch people do some cooking and start cooking. Get back into the kitchen to feed and nourish your family to heal this nation. That's the way I look at it. Don't stare at that television set. Turn it off. Turn it off. That would be number one to me, is turn that television off. I was in that IGA store and the news came on, and I don't listen to the news. I just don't see the point. And somebody will tell me if I'm meant to be doing something. They always do. So I'm in that IGA store where that lady is so fearful of me, and the first thing that comes on is the next thing that Dictator Dan has said to do in Victoria, and it's horrible. And I know you can go on the government website, you can figure out what you're meant to be doing and not meant to be doing. You don't have to watch the news for that. So turn the television off, start breathing, find a good place to get your food, to have it sent in if that's what you need to do. Get outside into the sunshine, find a really good exercise program and maybe do it outside, not inside. So if it's yoga you love or whatever it is, you can do this at home. But number one, get outside into your garden. If you live on a flat, get out on your veranda. But just get outside and get that sun on you. That would be, and the breathing. Outside if you can, not if you've got mold in the house, get outside. So, be outside when you're breathing and exercising and your sunshine.
Okay, lovely.
That's the kitchen to feed and nourish your family to heal this nation.
Yes, it's like thinking of your kitchen as your pharmacy, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It is your pharmacy.
Exactly.
It definitely is. And there's lots of YouTube videos that'll help people do this. And do it step by step. You've got the time, you've got 6 weeks. Imagine what you can do in 6 weeks. It can be incredible.
Absolutely.
And you're a better person and feeling better than ever.
The silver lining, so to speak, of what's going on.
It is. And if you have kids, sorry, I'm going to add this. So I homeschooled my children for 3 years. It was incredible. It was the best 3 years of our lives because we were totally devoted to those kids. So if you have 6 weeks, my recommendation is that you homeschool them yourself. Don't put them online. Don't put them on a screen. To me, you can teach them maths. You can teach them English. You can teach them reading. You can sit down and you can read to them. You can show them how you do your maths and your English, especially if they're little kids. You can do this. We're not dumb adults. We're actually very, very, and you can teach them cooking. You can teach them gardening. You know, they're not going to lose a lot in 6 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. And gain more life skills, probably.
Gain more life skills. You'll gain more. They'll gain more. You'll have a better relationship with them. And yeah, I did mine all offline. I did it. And I won't tell people who I did it with. That's another conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good points. Thank you, Cyndi. Thank you so much for sharing all your information. You're like an encyclopedia, really. So thank you for joining us. It's greatly appreciated. And I hope everyone that's been watching has enjoyed it as much as I have. So thank you, Cyndi. Good night. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you very much. Good night now. Good night.
Good night, everybody.